Good morning. Assalamualaikum.
Morning, doctor.
Okay, good morning. We should be waiting for the other students to come in.
Morning, doctor.
Good morning. Then please write your name and matrix number. I think after the long break, there is they, they need some time to come in. We'll just give them a few more minutes until more students come in. Okay, good morning. I think there are a few more students, I think, but we can start. Uh, there is a video actually. I want you to, like I mentioned, this week we have a quiz. Uh, I thought of giving a video first, but when many students are not in, I think there are supposed to be a few of you more. Last class it was about 10 or 11, I think. Yeah. So okay. Um, okay. We watch a video first. In the meantime, it's about let's see. The video is a TED talk about 16 minutes. Yeah, a TED talk about 16 minutes. The video is also put up in your open learning. Wait, I'll show you the open learning first. Okay. This is Michael Porter on TED. TED talk is about case of letting business solve social problems. You're supposed to watch. Yeah, you would have watched this video. I will play this video on share this video later, and then in today's after that you will discuss with your classmates and write your individual reports on the following. In today's global business environment, does the physical location of a business matter? So whether physical location matter during today's work. And then do you agree or disagree that business can solve social problems? You need to justify your answer. So you will have to upload your PDF here, but anyway, you can also upload here or in the open learning. There is this learning activity as the continuous and final assessment. You can also you can group the three assignments, three quizzes, and put up here. You don't have to put up on the other side. Okay, I'll play the video first.
We're all aware that the world today is full of problems. We've been hearing them today and yesterday and every day for decades. Serious problems, big problems, pressing problems, poor nutrition, access to water, climate change, deforestation, lack of skills, insecurity, not enough food, not enough health care, pollution. There's problem after problem. And I think what really separates this time from any time I can remember in my brief time on Earth is the awareness of these problems. We're all very aware. Why are we having so much trouble dealing with these problems? That's the question I've been struggling with. Coming from my very different perspective, I'm not a social problem guy. I'm a guy that works with business, helps business make money. God forbid. So why are we having so much problem with these social problems? And really, is there any role for business? And if so, what is that role? I think that in order to address that question, we have to step back and think about how we've understood and pondered both the problems and the solutions to these great social challenges that we face. Now, I think many have seen business as the problem, or at least one of the problems in many of the social challenges we face. Think of the fast food industry, the drug industry, the banking industry. This is a low point in the respect for business. Business is not seen as the solution. It's seen as the problem now for most people. And rightly so in many cases. There's a lot of bad actors out there that have done the wrong thing, that actually have made the problem worse. So this perspective is perhaps justified. How have we tended to see the solutions to these social problems, these many issues that we face in society? Well, we tend to see the solutions in terms of NGOs, in terms of government, in terms of philanthropy. Indeed, the kind of unique organizational entity of this age is this tremendous rise of NGOs and social organizations. This is a unique new organizational form that we've seen grown up. Enormous innovation, enormous energy, enormous talent now has been mobilized through this structure to try to deal with all of these challenges. And many of us here are deeply involved in that. I'm a business school professor, but I've actually founded, I think now 4 nonprofits. Whenever I got interested and became aware of a societal problem, that was what I did, form a nonprofit. That was the way we've thought about how to deal with these issues. Even a business school professor has thought about it that way. But I think at this moment, we've been at this for quite a while. We've been aware of these problems for decades. We have decades of experience with our NGOs and with our government entities, and there's an awkward reality. The awkward reality is we're not making fast enough progress. We're not winning. These problems still seem very daunting and very intractable, and any solutions we're achieving are small solutions. We're making incremental progress. What's the fundamental problem we have in dealing with these social problems? If we cut all the complexity away, we have the problem of scale. We can't scale. We can make progress, we can show benefits, we can show results, we can make things better. We're helping, we're doing better, we're doing good. We can't scale. We can't make large-scale impact on these problems. Why is that? Because we don't have the resources. And that's really clear now. And that's clearer now than it's been for decades. There's simply not enough money to deal with any of these problems at scale using the current model. There's not enough tax revenue. There's not enough philanthropic donations to deal with these problems the way we're dealing with them now. We've got to confront that reality. And the scarcity of resources for dealing with these problems is only growing, certainly in the advanced world today, with all the fiscal problems we face. So if it's fundamentally a resource problem, where are the resources in society? How are those resources really created? The resources we're going to need to deal with all these societal challenges. Well, there, I think the answer is very clear. They're in business. Why? All wealth is actually created by business. Business creates wealth when it meets needs at a profit. That's how all wealth is created. It's meeting needs at a profit that leads to taxes, and that leads to incomes, and that leads to charitable donations. That's where all the resources come from. Only business can actually create resources. Other institutions can utilize them to do important work, but only business can create them. And business creates them when it's able to meet a need at a profit. The resources are overwhelmingly generated by business. The question then is, how do we tap into this? How do we tap into this? Business generates those resources when it makes a profit. That profit is that small difference between the price and the cost it takes to produce whatever solution business has created to whatever problem they're trying to solve. But that profit is the magic. Why? Because that profit allows whatever solution we've created to be infinitely scalable. Because if we can make a profit, we can do it for 10, 100, a million, 100 million, a billion. The solution becomes self-sustaining. That's what business does when it makes a profit. Now, what does this all have to do with social problems? Well, one line of thinking is, well, let's take this profit and redeploy it into social problems. Business should give more. Business should be more responsible. And that's been the path that we've been on in business. But again, this path that we've been on is not getting us where we need to go. Now, I started out as a strategy professor, and I'm still a strategy professor. I'm proud of that. But I've also, over the years, worked more and more on social issues. Worked on healthcare, the environment, economic development, reducing poverty. And as I worked more and more in the social field, I started seeing something that had a profound impact on me and my whole life in a way. The conventional wisdom in economics and the view in business has historically been that actually there's a trade-off between social performance and economic performance. The conventional wisdom has been that business actually makes a profit by causing a social problem. Classic example is pollution. If business pollutes, it makes more money than if it tried to reduce that pollution. Reducing pollution is expensive, therefore businesses don't want to do it. It's profitable to have an unsafe working environment. It's too expensive to have a safe working environment, therefore business makes more money if they don't have a safe working environment. That's been the conventional wisdom. A lot of companies have fallen into that conventional wisdom. They resisted environmental improvement, they resisted workplace improvement. That thinking has led to, I think, much of the behavior that we have come to criticize in business, that I come to criticize in business. But the more deeply I got into all these social issues, one after another, and actually the more I tried to address them myself personally, in a few cases through nonprofits that I was involved with, the more I found actually that the reality is the opposite. Business does not profit from causing social problems, actually not in any fundamental sense. That's a very simplistic view. The deeper we get into these issues, the more we start to understand that actually business profits from solving social problems. That's where the real profit comes. Let's take pollution. We've learned today that actually reducing pollution and emissions is generating profit, saves money, makes the business more productive and efficient. It doesn't waste resources. Having a safer working environment actually and avoiding accidents, it makes the business more profitable because it's a sign of good processes. Accidents are expensive and costly. Issue by issue by issue, we start to learn that actually there's no trade-off between social progress and economic efficiency in any fundamental sense. Another issue is health. I mean, what we found is actually health of employees is something that business should treasure because that health allows those employees to be more productive and come to work and not be absent. The deeper work, the new thinking on the interface between business and social problems is actually showing that there's a fundamental deep synergy, particularly if you're not thinking in the very short run. In the very short run, you can sometimes fool yourself into thinking that there's fundamentally opposing goals. But in the long run, ultimately, we're learning in field after field that this is simply not true. So how could we tap into the power of business to address the fundamental problems that we face? Imagine if we could do that. Because if we could scale. We could tap into this enormous resource pool and this organizational capacity. And guess what? That's happening now, finally. Partly because of people like you, who've raised these issues now for year after year and decade after decade. We see organizations like Dow Chemical leading the revolution away from trans fat and saturated fat with innovative new products. This is an example of Jane Irrigation. This is a company that's brought drip irrigation technology to thousands and millions of farmers, reducing substantially the use of water. We see companies like the Brazilian forestry company Fibreeza that's figured out how to avoid tearing down old growth forests and using eucalyptus and getting much more yield per hectare of pulp and making much more paper than you could make by cutting down those old trees. You see companies like Cisco that are training so far 4 million people in IT skills to actually, yes, be responsible, but help expand the opportunity to disseminate IT technology and grow the whole business. There's a fundamental opportunity for business today to impact and address these social problems, and this opportunity is the largest business opportunity we see in business. And the question is, how can we get business thinking to adapt this issue of shared value? This is what I call shared value. Addressing a social issue with a business model. That's shared value. Shared value is capitalism, but it's a higher kind of capitalism. It's capitalism as it was ultimately meant to be, meeting important needs, not incrementally competing for trivial differences in product attributes and market share. Shared value is when we can create social value and economic value simultaneously. It's finding those opportunities that will unleash the greatest possibility we have to actually address these social problems. We can address shared value at multiple levels. It's real. It's happening. But in order to get this solution working, we have to now change how business sees itself. And this is thankfully underway. Businesses got trapped into the conventional wisdom that they shouldn't worry about social problems, that this was sort of something on the side, that somebody else was doing it. We're now seeing companies embrace this idea. But we also have to recognize business is not going to do this as effectively as if we have NGOs and government working in partnership with business. The new NGOs that are really moving the needle are the ones that have found these partnerships, that have found these ways to collaborate. The governments that are making the most progress are the governments that have found ways to enable shared value in business, rather than see government as the only player that has to, call the shots. And government has many ways in which it can impact the willingness and the ability of companies to compete in this way. I think if we can get business seeing itself differently, and if we can get others seeing business differently, we can change the world. I know it. I'm seeing it. I'm feeling it. Young people, I think, my Harvard Business School students are getting it. If we can break down this sort of divide, this unease, this tension, this sense that we're not fundamentally collaborating here in driving these social problems, we can break this down, we finally, I think, can have solutions. Thank you.
Well, my role at
Okay. I need to close this. Okay, there are 7 of you. Okay, I will break you into how many groups? Two groups. I will break it into two groups. There will be three and four. And then you will discuss uh, on the issue, on the talk, and then I'll show you in the open learning. Okay. Whether in today's global business environment, does the physical location of a business matter? So you discuss that. It is not really mentioned in the talk, but you discuss it among your friends. And then the second question is, do you agree or disagree that businesses can solve social problems? And then you need to justify your answer. So I'll give you half an hour. After half an hour, I will call you back, and then each team will present what they have discussed, the outcome of their discussion, and then you can take note of each other's opinion, and then you will put it up in your answer. It's actually you need to do a one piece, of minimum one piece, two minute, maximum two piece answer in your quiz and upload it later uh, before at the end of the course. Okay. So I will break you into teams. It is random, so you will be random. So every time we have quiz, we will have three quiz. This is the first one. It will be a random. So break you into two groups. So you accept the invitation and discuss in your group. We'll come back at now it's 9:31. We'll come back at 10 o'clock. Okay, let's share what you have discussed. Which group want to present first or share first? Uh, those in room 1 or room 2?
We can discuss first, but
Okay,
we actually don't have a presentation slide if it's
it's
okay.
okay, it's okay.
Um, Question one asked, in today's global business environment, does the physical location of a business matter? From breakout room one, we say that this is both a yes and a no, because it depends on four factors from our side. The first one is the nature of industry. So depending on the nature of industry, the type of industry that you want to embark in or you are actually in depends on whether you need a physical location ataupun tidak. If the type of business that you have, for example, is an IT ataupun a technology based where you can actually be based from anywhere, that one doesn't need a physical location. But if you are, for example, a manufacturing company, and then you want to have low operating costs, and then the business policies requires you to have certain requirements, then yes, you will need the physical location. So nature of industry is one. Number two is government policy and initiative. Depending on whether you want to take up the local grants ataupun funds. And then second one is also if you want to consider the tax of the country and where your physical location is. Number three is the target market, whether your target market is localized ataupun you have a global target market. If the local market, meaning that you require visibility. For example, we were talking about how McDonald's needs a physical location. Lagi banyak you nampak M tu kat tepi jalan, bukan M Emmanuel, lagi banyak you nampak M for McDonald's tu dekat tepi jalan, lagi banyak you are inclined towards going to McDonald's compared to macam KFC ataupun A&W. Also, Guanji also mentioned that the type that requires physical location is like haircut, the services. If you haircut, barber, semua tu, facial, you need the physical location. And lastly is in terms of talent supply. Talent supply also depending on whether you want localized talent ataupun global talent. If you want localized talent, for example, the manufacturing industry tadi tu, you want the localized talent because the cost is lower. Ataupun, for example, if you are opening an IT company that requires physical location because you want a lot of certified technology savvy punya engineers ataupun talent. But if your business, for example, WordPress, the one that we're doing our WordPress doesn't have a HQ. WordPress is a global company, and if I'm not mistaken, only about 25% of diorang punya employees is based in one place. Yang lain semua memang all over the world. So that is part one. Part two, anyone else want to? Wanji, you want to take part two?
Part two is about what a government policy, and yeah, basically it's on a government policy. So it depends whether they want to have it localized or the global. A lot much based on the government. For example, their tax rebate, their corporate tax, their incentive, as well as their initiative, government initiative. For example, like in Malaysia, they are going to have a lot of hybrid car or electric car. So they will be inviting like company like Tesla, maybe they will be interested to come in here. Although I think they're going to Indonesia because they have a better government policy there. Yeah, so that's the part of government policy depending on deciding whether the location is important for organization. Yes, so maybe the next point, someone else can take over.
I think we've covered already question one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so question two pula. Question two.
Okay, so I'll do the question two. So for question two, all of us unanimously agreed that yes, we agree that social business can solve businesses can solve social problems. So this one we put in a perspective of NGO. Why NGO does not work? I mean, it's not that it does not work, but it does not really solve the issue at hand. Is because it's not sustainable. So in order for you to have a sustainable business model, you have to have in order for you to have a sustainable business model to solve social problems. So we think that you have to have a business that's actually allow you to make profits first. So when you are able to make profit, then you can help solve those social issues that whatever you personally are facing or your home country is personally facing. So in our example, because we also read the book on apa tu Yunus the book of 3 zeros. So he also mentioned on social business strategy. So yeah, we also tap into his idea as well as on Michael Porter's shared values. So because of those reasons, we believe that yes, businesses can solve social problems. Like for example, nowadays we can see that a lot of businesses or industries, they really adhere to any social problems or any environmental issues or any issues that's concerning the society as a whole into their business models, and they even have like CSR programs catered towards solving those kind of issues. So we see that nowadays the trend is geared towards solving social problems at hand. So not only that you make profit, but it's also important that the profit that you make also helps solve the issues that you are currently facing.
Okay. Any other points? Okay. Any questions from the other group? Okay. If none, then room 2 can share your points.
No, actually, I have a question on just now on the Kopmanji's opinion on the government's rules, the tax rules. How does it relate to the physical presence of a business? Because if not mistaken, the question is physical present. Does it matter? It's very important. So whether you want to have a physical structure or no, it's like an online business or whatever. So how does it affect the tax or the needs of to be present in as present as a physical? So I kurang faham sikit.
Tax wise, for example, like if in certain country they are going for green energy, they are very focused on green energy. So any company with the business on green product, maybe they give very low tax or even no tax at all for the kind of business. For example, like in China, they have very low tax on such certain technology. So they will, even US and other countries, they will go there and develop, and build their company there. And the good thing is, not only they get tax rebate, they also pass down the knowledge to the locals there. Yeah, so like tax, all this. Like for example, if there's a country that's no tax, then a lot of company will want to go there because whatever they do there, they don't need to pay tax. Yeah, so that's my point.
Yeah, I think to add on one this point is that like for example in Malaysia, generally, and then personally, like for Kelantan state government, physical offices is actually one of the important criteria that we look at before you approve any business proposals from any companies. One of the reason is because you want to avoid these so-called paper companies. So if let's say this company or this organization does not have a good track record, when you are working, like when you don't have a physical office, it's easy to assume that you are actually operating a scam or a paper company. So to actually know that your good repo, to identify your business punya a so-called good repo lah, to identify that you are actually a legal entity, we actually require you to have a physical office. So that we know that you are operating legally and you have all the required documents and everything. So all this is hard to identify for us. Susah untuk kita nak track kalau you operate like on cloud or
Internet.
like on you tak ada physical structure, so it's hard for us to identify.
Like for example, nak add on like why most companies do their paper companies dekat Malta ataupun Cayman Islands ataupun Seychelles is because dia punya government policy dekat sana tu dia punya banks pun they don't care if the company is there physically or not. You just say you're a company and then you can open already like a bank account. But Malaysia tak boleh. Malaysia kan kalau nak buka bank kan kena ada all this SSM lah, apa benda semua tu. So it's a different government policy.
Betul.
Tapi betul lah, I understand where you're coming from. Like Malaysia, some government policy, they don't care whether you are a physical brick and mortar ataupun an online company. Tapi like Biba mentioned, like Biba coming from the government aspect tu, dia ada mention lah, some companies require like a physical, like you have to have like a at least alamat kan untuk nak tahu where you operate from.
Yeah, another reason to add on is also the tariff of the trade. So like in Malaysia, a lot of company like Toyota, Honda, they have to build their plant here because if they manufacture the car in Malaysia, there will be very low tariff as compared if they import the same Toyota from Japan. Yeah, so that also gives them a lot of advantage in building a factory in a certain country due to the government taxes and tariff.
Very good. Any other questions? Okay, please, room 2, share your points to the answers to the questions.
Basically, our answer for question number 1 actually almost the same with group 1, where they divide the answer based on the nature of industry. For us, it's the same, which is nature of business. So nature of business we divide to 2, either it's goods or services. So basically, goods and services is determine the need of present of a physical business. Is there need or not? So we got divided to 2. Our answer is depends on the industry and it depends on the business. And since they already explained the details, that we just go for why people looking for physical and why people looking for non-physical. So for us, for the first one, why we need we no need that physical structure. We go for, first of all, is on online trending. Now the trending is in a gadget world. So the gadget world requires people to make a decision to buy and purchase or sell the thing their fingernail. So I think the trend towards to the online the information system is taken place, and with the revolution industry 4 and also the artificial intellectual place trending as a online as a trending. So that's why people doesn't look for the physical structure. And also it depends on the flexibility. It can be, you can be running your business anytime. Maybe if let's say US is the night, now is the US night, so you are just woke up in Malaysia, so you there's a flexibility for you to run the business. There's no physical structures that needed because it's just online and everything. And also it can be save cost and time. So that means there's like what Alia mentioned just now. If let's say you got if let's say you want to build up a building, you will be incurred a cost like a fixed cost. You have to monthly pay the rental. For example, now the COVID situation, there's no business, but yet you still have to pay for the rental of the place that you took to do the business. And also the time, because you can do the business on the time, because you don't need to wait until tomorrow. So like it's a good example is Bursa Malaysia itself. Last time Bursa Malaysia, if let's say you want to buy the share, you have to go through the the brokers. You have the timing on and all that. So by the time your broker go and buy, maybe the price is dropped already, which is very uncertain. But the lockage time, but now with the use of the technology and the systems, we can see the live movement of the stocks prices and all that. So for me, there's no need to be present physically to the bursa to see the billboard, what is going on there. So maybe the technology made the physical is how to work on the businesses. And we also say depends. We said there's a need of a physical. Maybe my friend Miss Nurazmi will explain why the needs of physical business is made.
Thank you, Em. In our group discussion, we also discussed that we need physical store because physical store actually pose advantages in terms of customers and business. So it's not just depends on nature of business, but it depends on the needs as well. Because for example, for physical stores, for products, for businesses that sell multi products, like Harvey Norman and then Mr. DIY. Like if they have a physical store, it's easy for customers to make decision making because the seller they can assist them in decision making, as well as when there is a physical store, all of the products are like crammed into one physical store. It's not like sometimes online shop they don't advertise all products, and sometimes the inventories are quite different from the one in physical store. So when they have like a physical store, customers can buy more from them. So this pose advantages to businesses because they can generate more sales and profits when they have a physical store. And then in terms of customers, when they have a physical store, customers is more accessible to the store because sometimes when they order to online, they need to wait like 1 to 3 business days. But then it like if you can just go to Mr. DIY or anywhere near your house, it's more accessible lah if you need things quickly. And then so far that's all I think for the advantages of physical stores. Yeah. Yeah, and then if Najwa or M want to add anything?
So I will move on to second question. So the second question is, can business solve social problems justified? So from our discussion, we divided social problems into three main problems. First is poverty, second is unemployment, and third is environmental problem. So we do agree that business can solve the social problems mainly because of the corporate social responsibilities that exist in the company. So a business can also reduce poverty in a community since they can contribute give donation and give also the opportunity for the people to work. And this is also interrelated with how a business can also solve the unemployment issues. And next, for the environmental problem, we can see nowadays the e-hailing in the communities, such like the Grab and also Foodpanda. And this can also reduce the environmental problems because when we share cars, we can reduce the pollution, reduce the air pollution, reduce the sound pollution. So in these ways, business can reduce all of the social problems, the three main problems. And do you guys want to add Min or M?
I want to add, I think another one factor that business can help in solving social problem is when they practice good conduct in their business. For example, if you are in the manufacturing industry, like we have a factory, if they practice good conduct, they can help they can help reduce environmental issues such as water, air pollution, and they can also help protect the health of their employees and also the community surrounding them, which can also increase the performance of the business. Yeah, that's for me.
Is there any question from the other group, from group one?
I have a question on the question 2. So group 2 mentioned that a company can solve the social problem because it is their responsibility. Uh, because I think like a lot of company, if you just bring that down to responsibility, they won't be obliged to fulfilling their so-called responsibility. So what's your point or what's your argument on this? Because there's no incentive if you just say it's a responsibility.
Yeah, if we look beyond their responsibilities, actually, even though they are not compiling with the responsibilities, a business still can reduce some of the social problems. For example, like the unemployment issues, business can give opportunity to the graduates to get a job, and also yeah, they can help in that unemployment issues, if not giving donation or such things. And also like yeah, that's my point. And also if we take a look at like the business nature itself, like the what we call the sharing economy. Yeah, the sharing economy businesses also, if they not focuses on their response on their CSR, they also can contribute to the community in any other ways, such like we have the social we have the we have a business in other country. They have a business that they can reduce the food waste, and so these ways they also can help the environmental issues, the environmental problems, even though they are not really um, contribute in the CSR ways. Yeah, that is my point.
Another one is nowadays the corporate social responsibilities become part of the business. Last time is actually people willingly to do the things, but now people wanted to do because to gain a competitive advantage. It's also become a business. Actually, kalau kita nampak end of the CSR program, actually it's gain for them. Why? They can easily promote their businesses, as well as they also can relieve their wrongdoings. For example, there's a carbon emission from an industry. But the industry people purposely will promote, we are doing corporate responsibility, we are going to do some project on the carbon emission. Actually, it's their responsibility to reduce the carbon, but then it's become a business motive, and it become a social responsibility, and then they name it as a social responsibility, and it's gain advantage for them. So end up it's add some market for them also. So now because corporate social responsibility definition turn to be a part of the business, because it also add the advantages for the people. Because if let's say for example you bagi hadiah pun, people will tend to put your logo on the hadiah, so that hadiah can be transferred, I mean can move around. So people, hey, where you got this from? This is from Justco. Padahal you're given the thing is based on social responsibility. Maybe you give the beras, but inside the bekas beras you got the logo of Justco. So indirectly you are promoting, you're marketing your business over there. So maybe that's what our point to be value add on the social responsibility, how it can be solve a bit of the problems, social problem. And also social responsibility, the business also can be a social business nowadays, so which is become trending nowadays. So business also can be defined, can be divided to another form of business, which is social business.
Okay, no other question. Okay, I think we'll take a break. We'll come back at about today I planned about 15 minutes, but we'll come back at about 10:45. Okay, can we continue? Okay, we'll move into topic 3, organizations and information systems. Okay, as we have mentioned during the previous class, that there is a two-way relationship between organizations and information technology. And then in the middle, there are mediating factors that provide the mediation between the organizations and information technology. So the mediating factors include environment, yeah, culture, structure, business processes, politics, and management decisions. So we have mentioned the environment that the economic environment, political environment, and then also the culture. We talk about organizational culture previously, and then structure. We have organizational structure, and then there are business processes that motivates the development of technology, and then politics, organizational politics, not the politics that we talk about in the outside world today, but it is the organizational politics that we have discussed, I think, previous class, and also the management decisions, how management make decisions. Okay, organization is what is an organization? Organization is a group of people that is structured, managed to meet their mission and set of group goals. So you have your vision, your mission, and then you have your goals. So there are relationships between the members of this organization and their various activities. So within the organization, we have processes. Processes are defined that assign roles, responsibilities, and authority to complete the various activities that organization carry out. So this organization is an open system because it is affected by their surrounding environment. So this is the environment. The environment we have customer environment, suppliers, technology, competition, shareholders, government, economy, business partners, industry. We discuss about systems thinking. When we look at systems thinking, we have to look at this as a whole. So we have this environment, we have input in terms of capital, equipment, facilities, materials, supplies, labor, and knowledge as input. And then the organization is a process, is a system. The organization is a system. So there is a transformation process where we alter the inputs, manufacture, transport, and store the inputs, and then we provide outputs. Outputs can be in form of goods, services, and also feedback. The goods and services are provided back to the environment. So in a way, organization take input from the environment and then it provide back outputs back to the environment. Yeah, so you take input from the environment, you have a transformation process, and then provide back outputs to the environment. So within this transformation process, we have feedback data and corrective actions. So the feedback data are able to do monitoring and control. So there are also feedback data coming from the output, feedback data coming from the transformation process, and then we provide corrective actions back to the input as well as to the transformation process. So this is the whole system of an environment of an organization, a general model of an organization. There are components of this being monitored and run by information technology, and then there are also components that have been provided by the management or organizations. So when you talk about organization, there are two different definitions of organization. One is the technical definition. In terms of technical definition, organization is a formal social structure that process resources coming from the environment to produce outputs. So it is a formal legal entity within it you have the internal rules and procedures as well as social structure. That is a technical definition. But when you look at it in terms of the behavioral definition, the behavioral definition looks at an organization as a collection of rights privileges, obligations, and responsibilities that is delicately balanced over a period of time through conflict and conflict resolution. So the word here is balance over a period of time through conflict and conflict resolution. That's where you can get this organizational politics. There are conflict and conflict resolution. So you have organizational politics, but at the end, the outcome should be balanced. Yeah. So whenever you want to develop any system, you have to look into the technical definition as well as the behavioral definition. So this is the technical definition of the organization, where you take inputs from the environment, you process it, you have a production process, you provide output back to the environment. So there is a feedback loop where you get from information from the output, and then also there is also information coming from the production processes, and then we improvise the processes and also improvise the inputs so that we can over time improve the outputs of the organization. But when you look at the behavioral definitions of the organization, it is much more complex. We have structure as well as process. What are structure? We have the organizational hierarchy. We have the divisions of labor. We have the rules and procedures, SOP, policies, procedures. We have business processes, and we have the organizational culture. And then there are processes that we have to do. We provided within it the rights and obligations, responsibilities of people, privileges, the values that you provide to the environment, back to the environment. Because we take similarly, it comes with input coming from the environment and then provide output back to the environment. So you need to have values, and then what are the norms, and what are the people involved. So this is input, this is output. Yeah, this is output. So there is an interplay within the organization with regard to the structure and the process. So it is much more complex as compared to the technical definition. Yeah, but when we there are features of the organization which are they use a hierarchical structure. We look into accountability and authority in the system to make impartial decision making, to adhere to certain principles of efficiency. Organizations need to adhere to principles of efficiency. There are routines and business processes, organizational politics, environment, and structures. Okay, I want to draw your attention on this routines and business processes. Give me some examples of routines and business processes that you have faced, that you have experienced. What are routines and business processes?
For example, hiring.
Hiring. Okay.
Inventory management.
Inventory management. Okay, that is routines and business processes. Okay, routines are things that you do routinely. So normally it's guided by your SOP, yeah, policies and procedures. And what is the difference between policies and procedures, by the way?
Procedure is a fixed guideline, specific guideline. Policy is a general direction.
Yes, policies is a general direction. From the top level management, when they have decided certain strategy, they would put up some policies. And then from the policies, in terms of the tactical strategy, tactical management, you will put up some procedures to detail out what tasks you have to do. And then whenever there are things are not spelled out in your SOP, standard operating procedures, you can refer back to the policy. Policy provide a very general guideline, whereas the procedures are spelled out. So the both of these policies and procedures can be placed or codified into information systems. Yeah, we move on. So in terms of relationship between organizations and IT, the relationships are influenced by the structure, like I mentioned just now, structure, business process, politics, culture, environment, and management decisions. So this is the routine and business processes. Routines are standard operating procedures. In routines, we provide precise rules, procedures, practices developed to cope with virtually all expected situations. And then these routines are actually collections of and then within the collections of routines, we have business processes. And then collection of business processes is a business firm. So business firm is a collection of business processes. And then within the business processes, we have routines. Yeah, routines, yeah, routines, collection of routines, we have business processes. There is another terminology that I want to draw, which is the business model. It's not spelled out here. What is a business model as compared to business processes versus business processes? What is the difference between business model and business processes? Which comes first?
Business model comes first. Once
Okay.
you establish how the model is, baru then you can see which processes fit
Okay.
the type of model.
Once you have determined your strategy of business, then you need to draw out a business model. Okay, business model. If you read Peter Drucker, is the first person who brought up this concept, but he did not term it as business model. He termed it as business theory. Term it as business theory. Well, Peter Drucker called it a business theory. Uh, so, according to him, the business theory is how the business uh, run business activities, provide value to the customers, and gain income out of it. Yeah, is there any specific? No, it's not provided. So, and then they gain income out of it. How they earn income out of the delivery of services and products. That is business model. Whereas business processes is how do you carry out the detail, the small detail, how do you carry out your business model. So when you look into information technology and it's also information system, we have to look into both the business model and the business processes. When you buy systems or develop systems, yeah, it always be your business model first, and then you break it up into the business processes, and then from the business processes you look into what sort of tools, what sort of system and functions that you require to develop the business processes. But these business processes actually are derived from the business model that you want to do. Yeah. Because okay, I give you some different examples of business model. Let's say uh, Astro and TV3 both provide television screening, right? But Astro provides a subscription model. The business model is subscription, you pay monthly, whereas 3v3 you don't have to pay monthly. But it gain their income from advertisement. Although Astro also gain income from advertisement, but that is not actually their model. Their model is subscription model. Same goes to, if you can recall, the newspaper Sun that you pick up at the LRT stations and at the McDonald's. Sun, you don't have to pay for Sun newspaper. The business model is advertisement model. Whereas if you take Newsweek Times or other newspapers, you have to pay. So two same product but different business model. So when you have your business model, and then you will establish business processes in relation to the business model. So this is business processes. Business processes is actually there are the business processes are flow of material, information, and knowledge. It comprises of activities and steps, sets of activities and steps, and then it can be tied up to a specific functional area, or it can be cross-functional. So businesses can be seen as a collection of these business processes, and then these business processes can be assets or liabilities. If it expedites and improves the processes, it is assets. If it slows down your business activities, it is a liability. Business processes can be a liability, meaning you would put additional processes in the middle. In doing your business model, if you have too many processes and certain processes are tying up or hindering or slowing down the processes, that business processes is a liability. Okay, example of business processes. For example, in manufacturing and production, assembling the product is a business process. Sales and marketing, identifying the customer is a process. In finance and accounting, the function is in finance and accounting, the creating financial statements is a business process. In human resources, hiring employees is a business process. So this is an example of a cross-functional business process. Cross-functional business process, so they have different functions here. We have sales function, we have accounting function, and we have manufacturing and production function. So for the sales function, we have business process of generating order, submitting order, and then it moves to the next business process within the accounting, which is the checking the credit, approving credit, generating invoice, and then assembling products and ship products. So this overall, this business process is called order fulfillment process. So the order fulfillment process is a cross-functional process. Why is it cross-functional process? Because it crosses over different functions. So we have sales department, we have accounting department, we have manufacturing department. So these are the steps or the tasks that need to be conducted, to be done by each of the different functions or departments. And then we move into the business value chain model. The business value chain model is put up in your individual assignment. So you need to understand what is the business value chain. So when you talk about business model and business activities, so the firm is actually a series of activities that add value to the products. For example, if you buy a banana, if you sell the banana, you can sell at a certain price. But if you fry it, you put you 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 fry it, make it into a banana fritters. So the selling price of banana fritters is different. You can sell a higher price. But what encompasses the higher price that you provide is actually the value added that you provide. You provide value added. So you have raw material, you process the raw material into semi-finished products, and the semi-finished product you further process it into finished products, and then you sell the finished products at a higher price because there is an added value to the products. Yeah, from raw materials up to the final product, there is added value. So there is a series of activities that add values to the products. So the business value chain model look into the activities where the competitive strategies can best be applied. So there are two types of activities. One is called the primary activities, the other is the support activities. So at each stage, the information system need to be determined how can we improve to the operational efficiency and improve the customer and supplier intimacy. So you can have benchmarking to determine to get the industry best practices. So this is a value chain model, an example value chain model, but basically it's actually It derives from the industry value chain where you have supplier provides to the suppliers, provides to the firm, provides to the distributor, and eventually to the customer. And then there is after sales to the customers. And then you have sourcing and procuring systems here, and we have customer relationship management systems here. When you look at the primary activities, it usually begin with the inbound logistics, move into operations or production. We have sales and marketing, we have service, and we have outbound logistics. And then supporting the primary activities, we have support activities. Support activities can be can vary. So it can be, for example, but most common is the admin and management. We have human resources, we have technology, and we have procurement. Eventually, the goal is to provide the firm value chain. Okay. How do you remember the primary activities? Can you recall the primary activities during examination? If a question like this come up, how do you recall what would be the primary activities?
Remember the flow of the material.
Yes, remember actually look into the flow. It always starts with raw material. Yeah, when you have raw material, what you do, you should have an inbound logistic. It will end with an outbound material, or we have finished goods. Then we have outbound logistics. So you have inbound one side and outbound one side. After inbound, what do? You need to produce. You take the raw material, you need to produce. Sometimes we call it production, sometimes we call it operations. Once you have produced, what do? You sell. And then you have sales and marketing. After you sell, what do? You have to service. You have service after sales. You have service. So you always start with the inbound, and after you have inbound, you will or raw material and inbound, you have to produce. You have production or operations, and then after operations, you will sell. You have sales and marketing. After you have sold, you will have services to, to support your customer, yeah, provide after sales services, and then finally at the end should be outbound. So the detail should be according to the businesses that you deal with. For example, in this case, automated warehousing system, computer controlled machining system, computerized ordering system, equipment maintenance system, automated shipping and scheduling system. These are the systems that support the outbound logistics, supports the operation, support the sales and marketing, supports the services, and support the outbound logistics. And then besides these primary activities, you have supporting activities. Supporting activities also depends on the organizations, but basically you will have admin and management, have human resource, maybe depends on the organization. You have technology, and then you have procurement or some other departments, depends on the type of organization that you deal with. But the system that support these supporting activities, examples are electronic scheduling and messaging system, workforce planning system, computer-aided design system, computerized ordering system. The system will depend on the case by case, depending on the type of businesses and then the type of organizations that you deal with. Yeah. And then you will have a sourcing and procurement system, which is part of the supply chain management system. And then you have the customer relationship management system. So this is the business value chain model where you take components, raw materials, and even and then you process it uh, to produce product. You sell it, and then you provide services, and you provide outbound logistics. So at every level, there will be an added value, and then with the added value, you will increase. You should be able to increase the price or selling price. Besides the business value, there is another value what we call business information value chain. Business information value chain, it doesn't look at the product and services. It looks at the flow of information and knowledge. It looks at the information of the value of information and knowledge. So when you talk about information and knowledge, the raw materials for information is data. You will collect data, so they will begin with data collection and storage, and then you will transform data into the business systems, and then you will disseminate this data. So this data will be disseminated to two branches. One is pertaining to the business process. The other one is on the management activity. The business processes, we have supply chain management system to look into how do we manage materials coming from the beginning from the raw material until we produce a final product. And then we have enterprise management system or enterprise resource planning system that looks at the whole organization, how you manage your resources, your manpower, your materials, your finance, and so on. That is the enterprise management system. And then you have your customer management system that looks into the everything about the customer, starting from creating awareness in the marketing activities, promotion activities, and you look into the sales activities, and next to the after sales activities. Yeah. And then throughout the organization, we have a knowledge management system that monitors all these supply chain management system, enterprise management system, and customer relationship management system. So you can codify all the knowledge within the organization, so you can improve the know-how, capability, provide training to the whole organization. Okay, beside these business processes, we have management activities. Management activities starts with planning, from the data transformation processes and dissemination. We have data that can be used for planning, and then you can use that data to coordinate your activities. After you coordinate, and then you can control your activities to make sure it achieves its goal, and then you can use it for to do modeling and decision making. You can have your business intelligence, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics to do modeling and decision making. So with these two business processes and management activities, so the goal is to provide to improve the firm profitability and provide advantage strategic positioning of the organization. So we have here the information processing activities. We have here the main business processes, management activities, and then as we go along from the data transformation and so on, there is an increment of business value. This is what we call business information value chain. As compared to the business value chain, which really look into materials, raw materials, and they provide finished goods and delivery of services. The information value chain looks at data, information, and knowledge that are being applied in the organization to provide support towards improving the firm's profitability and for the organization have competitive advantage in their strategic positioning. Yeah, business information value chain. Okay, any questions so far in comparison with these two, business value chain and the business information value chain? What? Any question? Everybody is okay, eh?
Prof, the two
Yeah.
models, like the business information value chain and then the value chain model too, is it like interrelated to each other, or is it like one is a part of the other?
Not. It is not. This is not one. The one of it the part of the other, but it runs concurrently. It runs concurrently. One process, for example, the value chain. Value chain is actually a production model. It is a production model. You take materials, raw material, and you provide output in terms of product and services. It is a production model. But please understand that within the production model, what is a business process? Business process is a set of activities that involve information flow of materials, information, and knowledge. Involve flow of material, information, and knowledge. But the business value only caters towards the materials, but it doesn't look at the information and knowledge. The information and knowledge is handled by the business information value chain. It is so when you look at this part, uh, concurrent with this value chain, we running along together with it. There are data collection, there are transformation of the data into business system where we have information, and then we disseminate data and information to the business processes and also towards the management activities, so that you can monitor every steps and every levels of the business value chain. Yeah, so it looks at different perspective, and then it is not part of the other, because the business information value chain can be in any single part of this. For example, even there is information value chain in terms in inbound logistics per se, or it can be across the different functional. Okay. Any other question?
So means kalau macam tu Prof, meaning to say like for the value chain model ni, if it's a traditional method, a traditional business punya method or traditional business model, then they don't use MIS, so they don't have the business information value chain in their business processes, is it?
Yes, because the business value chain comes earlier. It was invented earlier. It is a production model. But we understand that along the business value chain, there is knowledge passed through. And then how do you handle with the knowledge? Uh, we handle the knowledge through the business information value chain. Okay, when you develop systems, we have to look at the business information value chain. When we develop any system, we need to look into how the data is being collected, how do you transform the data, how do you disseminate the data, and then what is the data being used for, whether it is for the planning, coordinating, controlling, and decision making, and then whether you put the data into your different uh, application systems such as supply chain management system, enterprise planning system, and so on. Yeah, so it looks zoom specifically into the information and data information and knowledge. Yeah. So how does information technology improve the business processes? Information technology increase efficiency of the existing processes. So it can be automating steps that were manual, or it can also enable entirely a new process. So it can change the flow of information. Previously, what we have been doing, we have sequential steps. We can be changed towards a parallel steps. So it can eliminate delays in decision making, and it can even support new business models. There are new business models today that we are being created with the use of information technology. For example, we have Airbnb, we have Grab, we have certain technology that are being implemented using the business model are being created with the help of information technology. Without information technology, there is no such new models. And then in terms of replacing sequential step with parallel step, you can remember previously we have many plies of paper. When you fill up a form, we have blue colored paper, we call it NCR sheet, blue, green, pink, and so on. And then you have to press the paper so that in order to have parallel. Otherwise, your documents will move from one department one person to another person, and then the steps are conducted to process the data are sequential. So with information technology, we are able to run the steps parallel. So it eliminates delays in decision making. So processes are being done very fast, and then in a way it changes flow of information. This is about enabling the entire process. Besides that, it also can automate steps that were not manual. But there are what do you call it, hinders or difficulties when you want to implement systems. Resistance when you want to implement systems in the organization. One of it is the organizational politics. Organizational politics, like I mentioned to you, is divergent. There are divergent viewpoints which lead to political struggle, competition, and conflict within the organization. Although eventually you will end up with a balanced decision, but the organizational politics is provides resistance towards the organizational change. And then the organizational culture. Organizational culture is a set of assumptions that define the goal and products of the organization. So it determine what product that the organization should produce, how and where it should produce, and for whom it should be produced. So it is a unifying force, yet it is also a restraint on any changes. So we are used to producing film cameras, and now you're telling me to produce digital cameras. So the culture is an unifying force, but yet it restrain changes. The other one is organizational environment. Organizational environment have a reciprocal relationship because the organization is open and dependent on the social and physical environment. So it can influence the environment, yet the environment also can influence the organization. Usually, the environment change faster than the organization. So information system can be an environmental scanning, acting as a lens towards the organization. So this is how information system look at. We look into the environmental resources and constraints. You look into the government policies, the competitors, information on the competitors, information on the customers, information about the financial institutions that you can get finances and funds. And then you look into the changes of culture, what are the technology that we have today, what are the knowledge that we have today. And the information system act as a lens so that the firm or organization can take advantage out of the environment, because there is a reciprocal relationship between organization and the environment. Yet there are also technologies. There are two types of technologies. Actually, this one is the first one. There are two types of technologies. One we call it sustaining technology. The other one is disruptive technology. We talk about disruptive technologies first. The disruptive technology, it substitute products that have been performing well to another product that is better than the existing product. So it will substitute the product. So the technology brings we call it a game changer. It's a game changer. It brings sweeping change to the business, industries, and markets. For example, we have personal computers, word processing software, internet, page rank algorithm, which are called disruptive technologies. Yeah. Before personal computers, what do we have? We have mainframe computers. Mainframe computers are expensive, huge, and then you require expensive air conditioning system. You need a room where you place your mainframe. The temperature should be low because the mainframe produces heat. So the air conditioning system would cool off the computer. When it's too hot, the computer will hang. So you need to cool it off. And then with the advent of the personal computer, everyone now carries computer. You even carry computer in your pockets. We have a very small computer. Our a smartphone today is a computer. And then we have our word processing software. before word processing software? What do we have before we have word processing software? Before we have word processing software, what do we have?
Club.
Yes?
The club, Karani.
Club. Okay. Before word processing software, we have our typewriter. Anybody recall, remember the typewriter? After the typewriter, we have our electronic typewriter or electrical typewriter. After that, we have a word processor. Anybody recall word processors? Anybody have ever seen word processors? Because I've talked to many classes before. I think students of your age, most of you have never seen a word processor. Have never even heard that such product existed. Anybody have ever seen a word processor? Okay, you can, okay, it takes some time. You search word processor. Not word processing software, you search word processor in your mobile phone or in your computer, laptop. You type word processor.
Never seen one before, doctor.
Yes, never seen one. Now, have you ever seen? Do you see?
Yeah, I Google and then tak pernah pakai.
You look at the image.
Tahun bila ni?
Okay. The word word processor. When I started working in 1988. I used word processor back then. 1988, 1989, 1990. We use word processors. Although the computer.
Not even born at 1988. Kan you we're not even born yet, right?
Okay, after we have typewriters, after we have typewriters, it's not possible to send many letters. For example, university sending letters or bank sending letters to all your customers. Yeah, because back then we don't have email. We need to send letters. Yeah, so we send letters to all our customers. Say the bank have millions of customers. How do you send millions of customers? Same letter, different address, different account number. We don't have beside mainframe computer, which is too expensive. You would just want to send letters. You don't want to send. You don't want to compute. There is nothing to compute. So we have this thing called word processor. Word processor, actually you can save the text and then you can replace certain components of the text. For example, the name, address, date. You can change the date. So you can send same letters, different date, or same letters, different name, same letters with different account numbers. You can fill up. So the word processor will fill it up to you. So it is like a computer, but just meant to write letters, to write documents. So from the word processing, from the word processor, uh, software programmers develop word processing software. This word processing software is actually is a software that imitates the word processor. Word processing software is a software that imitates the word processor. It imitates what does the word processor do. So the first word processing software were Word Star, Word Perfect, and then we have Microsoft Word, and then Lotus. They have Lotus. Lotus also have a word. I don't remember the name. And then, but up today, until today, Microsoft Word is still there, quite a prominent word processing software. Before that, we have word processor. Yeah, that is a disruptive technology. The other one is PageRank algorithm. PageRank algorithm, they look into it is a search engine algorithm that looks at we call it backlink algorithm. Backlink algorithm, it searches through popularity of the keyword. So when you search, how does it search? It search based on the popularity by backlink, by what we call it hyperlinks. If your site have more hyperlinks, you are more popular. So the keyword that links to your website determines your popularity. That is the page rank algorithm. How was it before we have this page rank algorithm? Word, how does searches being conducted? What was the search engine before Google became popular?
MSN?
Yeah,
MSN.
MSN,
Yeah.
MSN, Microsoft Network. No, Microsoft Network is actually, it is a network. Microsoft Network, it is a network. They have their own browser. We call it IE, Internet Explorer. Today we have Edge. It is a browser. And then Microsoft acquired Bing, B-I-N-G, later after the Google. They are newer than Google. Google came first.
Yahoo.
Yahoo.
Yahoo was before Google. Yahoo is the one. Well, Yahoo is the main search engine before Google. How does Yahoo search? What algorithm do they use? Anybody know about it? Anybody aware about it? Okay. Yahoo uses metadata. When you put up your website into Yahoo or any, and then you classify your website using the metadata, and then you put up the metadata in Yahoo. Yahoo, there is a category, there is a classification category, but they don't provide today. Previously, we have a category, and then the category is based on your metadata. So it is done manually by the people who put up their website. They put up the metadata, and then search will compare the keyword and the metadata. So there is not much automation on it, except for the keyword search and the metadata search. So you will search, they use search and metadata. There is no popularity ranking. And then this popularity ranking was came up by Google using their page rank algorithm. Why is it called page rank? It is a ranking algorithm, and the inventor's name is Page. So the two inventors of Google were Sergey Brin and Larry Page. So the inventor's name is Page. So page rank algorithm, nothing to do with web page. The page is his name. Okay. So with this disruptive technology, we have this first mover and fast follower. First mover is the inventor of the disruptive technology, and fast follower are firms with size and resources to capitalize on that technology. For example, here we can look at the smartphone. What was the first mover for smartphone?
Apple.
iPhone. What is the fast follower?
Samsung.
Samsung. So the first mover is iPhone, Apple, but the fast follower is Samsung. So the first mover is the inventor of this disruptive technology, but the fast follower is the firm with the size and resources to capitalize on that technology. It moves fast. And then with the pricing, and then it can compete with iPhone. Samsung is able to compete with iPhone because it is a fast follower, and then there are the followers. Besides disruptive technology, it is not provided here, but it will be provided in other topics. Is we call it sustaining technology. sustaining technology. Sustaining technology doesn't disrupt the existing technology, but what it does is sustain the technology. For example, the combustion engine. Combustion engine started with and then it moved on into four valve, 8 valve, 12 valve. Today we have 16 valve. Yeah, so this combustion engine. Today cars still use combustion engine, although electric cars are coming, but in Malaysia it is still far. And then anyway, uh, the in order to recharge your car, you will require electricity. Electricity comes from combustion engine as well, comes from turbines. Yeah, so you still have to use coals and fuel to generate electricity from the turbines, and and then from the electricity you recharge your car. It's the same thing. The sustaining technology is a technology that sustains. It doesn't change to a new technology, but it sustains. Okay. Okay. And then we look into organizational structure. There are, okay, we have covered this. Oh, yeah, no, no. Okay, we have covered this. There are five basic kinds of organizational structure mentioned by Mintzberg. Okay, Mintzberg mentioned two things. One is about the roles. We have 3 roles that can broken up into 10 sub roles of the managers. Besides that, Mintzberg also talk about the 5 kinds of basic organizational structure in any organization. One is entrepreneurial organization. Entrepreneurial organization are organizations that are entrepreneurial and enterprising, create new activities, business activities. And then there is a machine bureaucracy organization, especially like large plants or factories. So they have determined uh, what are the rules for every unit, for example, production, marketing. So every unit have been determined. So it's like a machine. So it is a machine bureaucracy. Divisionalized bureaucracy, we have many divisions. Yeah, so the organization comprised of divisions. And then professional bureaucracy, this is the professional bodies like or organizations like lawyers, architects. Uh, uh, yeah, so they have professional bureaucracy and organizations that are created to handle specific projects from time to time. We call it adhocracy. Yeah, adhocracy is you create the organization for that period of time to handle certain project. After the project done, yeah, it is dissolved. Yeah, so information system need to look into all aspects of this organizational structure, whether it is entrepreneurial, whether it is machine bureaucracy, whether it is divisionalized, whether it is professional. Professional bureaucracy, normally we have engineers or lawyers, or they are specific to certain profession people or, 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 or professionals. And then there are also features pertaining to the goals, constituency, and leadership styles and type of tasks of the organizations. And then we have IT also changes the relative cost of capital and the cost of information. So there is economic impacts. Yeah, there are economic impacts provided by the information technology to the organization. What are the economic impacts? One, it changes the relative cost of capital. It reduces cost of capital. And then it is a factor of production like capital and labor. So it affects the cost and quality of information and changes economics of information. So it helps organizations to reduce in size, so it can reduce the transaction cost. So in the open learning, I provided some write up on the transaction cost theory. Yeah, you can read about it. Transaction cost theory is where It's about the cost of conducting transaction, cost of doing a transaction. So with information technology, we can reduce the transaction cost by vertical integration. You can hire more employees, you can buy suppliers, you can buy and so and distributors. It lowers the transaction cost. And then beside the transaction cost, IT also reduce the agency cost. Agency cost is cost of agents. Yeah, agency cost. So agency theory provide the nexus. The firm is actually as a nexus of contract between interested party that require some supervision. Agency theory helps with information technology helps in monitoring or supervising activities, so it reduces your agency costs. So when so it's making it possible for the organization to grow without the cost of supervision. So you don't have really monitor individual staff, can be monitored using information technology. For example, uh, staff can clock in by themselves, and then it can be monitored electronically. You don't have to tick their punch cards. And then previously we have to call the punch card and then you to tick, check who came late, who is absent. Now everything can be generated as a report by information system. So it reduces the agency cost. And then IT also flattens organization. So we have fewer managers needed. So it is flattened. If you can recall previously during my time, we have different layers at the bank. When you visit the banking counter, you have tellers, you have banking tellers, and then banking tellers will pass on to the officer. Now you don't have banking tellers. It is replaced by a machine called automated teller machine. So ATM. So it flattened the organization. All there is no clerical position, not much clerical position now at the bank. Most of the people in the banks are officers or executives or managers. So we don't have clerical position anymore. So it reduce the layers, flatten the layers of the organization. Okay. We'll take a break for a while before we move into the organizational resistance. Take a break, say about uh, 15 minutes. We come back at 12. Okay, we can continue. Okay, now when we look into the organizational resistance to change, information system became bound up to organizational politics because they influence access to key resources, which is information. So information system can potentially change organization structure, culture, politics, and work. So there are four factors that resist the changes. Yeah? Four factors that resist changes in any organizations in terms of when you want to do, when you want to introduce new technology, when you want to reduce new systems. There are four factors. One is the nature of the innovation, what sort of innovation that are being provided. The other is the structure of the organization. What is the organizational structure? Because the organizational structure will also affect the organizational politics. What is the culture of the organization? So what are the organization used to do? What products they used to do? And then the tasks affected by the organization innovation. So when You have changes in the coming from the innovation. There will be changes in business models. There will be changes in the business processes. With the changes of the business processes, you will have changes of tasks, and then there are people will be affected by changes of tasks. Some tasks may eliminate some group of workers, for example, when certain automation, so you are no longer relevant to the task, so you have to be reassigned with new tasks. So these are the changes that affecting new innovations. For example, like when I put it here, the organizational structure, the people, the job tasks, and the information technology. Internet on the other hand increases the accessibility, storage, and distribution information and knowledge for organizations. So it also lowers down the transaction cost and agency costs. Yeah, and then the relationship between organization and information system. So with information system, the supply chain organizations could be linked together physically and also use with information. So we have physical information like when we look at the business supply chain, business value chain just now. So you can see the organization can be linked together through the supply chain model, and then there is also information when the participants participants communicate their plans, coordinated their work, control and managing efficient flow of goods and material. So information system play an integral role in supply of and supply chain process in providing input, aiding product transformation and producing output. So implications of the design and understanding of information system. Organizational factors the organization affect the system in terms of environment, structure, culture, politics. I think we have discussed this, the same thing, repeating. Like I mentioned to you, there are two types of innovation: sustaining innovation and disruptive innovation. Disruptive innovation is the one that we mentioned just now, which provides a lower level of performance than the marketplace, and then they so it is a game changer. But sustaining innovation is the innovation that results in enhancement of the existing products. For example, like given just now is the uh, engine, combustion engine. So innovation provides cutting edge, it provides new revenue stream, it increases profit. So it's a it catalyzes growth and success of your organization. So innovation is defined as application of new ideas to the product, processes, and activities of firm, leading to an increased value. Increased value, we talk about business value. And then there are two types of innovation, and one is we call re-engineering. The other one is continuous improvement. Re-engineering is where you also term as business process re-engineering, where you redesign the business process, organizational structure, information system, and values of the organization to achieve a new breakthrough in the business result. You re-engineer the whole thing. Whereas continuous improvement is more related to sustainable technology, where sustainable innovation, where you look into ways to improve the business process and add value instead of re-engineering the whole process. Yeah, instead of re-engineer the whole process, you just add value. So normally the re-engineering comes from the top down, whereas the continuous improvement coming from the bottom up. So this is re-engineering where we do business process redesign. It affects the changes of it changes the organizational structure, changes the organizational value, and changes of the information system. So there's comparing the two between business process engineering and continuous improvement. Business process engineering take strong action to solve serious problem, which is top-down change initiated by senior executive. It's very broad in scope, cut across different departments. The goal is to achieve a major breakthrough, normally led by resources from outside the company, maybe changes in terms of policy, changes in terms of technology. So you create new, with the new technology, we have a business process engineering, where information system is an integral part of the solution. Whereas for continuous improvement, it is normally a routine action taken by for minor improvement. It's a sustaining. So it is a bottom-up change driven by workers. So it is narrow in scope. Yeah, the focus is on the task in the specific given area. The goal is having to have a continuous and very gradual improvement. So usually led by workers close to their business. So information system provide data to improve uh, to improve the system, but to not part of the integral solution. In the case of, say, in the case of, I think you can find it. Similar case. Okay, and then that we have outsourcing. Uh, Hold on. Okay, okay. The term outsourcing, offshore outsourcing. Outsourcing is where you provide you contract out certain tasks or certain activities to an organization outside which have the expertise in providing the function. The difference between outsourcing and offshore outsourcing is when you assign the outsourcing to a different organization outside of the country, to a foreign country. That is called offshore outsourcing. But within the country, it's called outsourcing. So certain companies provide find solution or technologies, uh, uh, and then from outside, but and then outsourcing doesn't mean it reduce costs. Downsizing is where you reduce the number of employees to cut costs. Sometimes we call it right sizing. So you can affect the quality and employee morale. Okay, culture and changes. Okay, culture is a set of major understanding, and mentioned just now what you produce, how do you produce, and so on. And then uh, in terms of changes, whenever there is organizational change, it will affect the culture, and then they will normally resistance to it. So the soft side of implementing change should involve designing work so that employees can embrace the new information system and new way of working. Detail of these changes we will cover in different topic. Actually, in the next topic we cover change management. Yeah, there is an extension of this. We'll go into change management. Okay, so far any question pertaining to today's topic? Question pertaining to today's topic. Today we talk about we talk about the relationships between organization and IT. We talk about how environment provide input, and then the input are being transformed. There is a transformation processes, and we provide output, that is monitoring and control. And then the differences between the technical definition of organization and behavioral definition of the organization. And then we talk about business processes, and then functional and cross-functional business processes. We talk about the value chain model, the information, business information value chain, where there are business processes and management activities, and then how information technology improves the business processes, and then relationship between information technology with culture, with disruptive technology, structure, and then how it improves the transaction or reduce the transaction cost, reduce the agency theory, and then organizational and behavioral impact, resistance, and so on. Any question?
Doctor, I have a question.
Yes.
On the 5 organization structure that you mentioned earlier, by the entrepreneurial, machine, divisionalized, professional, and ad hoc, how does different information system help in each of
Okay.
what
Okay. Different
criteria is
information system. For example, when you have divisionalized when you want to develop information system, you have to look into, for example, if it is an entrepreneurial organization. Entrepreneurial organization are usually not big. They are small. So you will develop a system for the whole organization, but it is not big. The system are usually not big. Entrepreneurial organizations are really big. And then if you have divisionalized organization, it's usually big. And production organization is big, but this is quite static, meaning that development of the system, there is not much changes. It is machine bureaucracy. And you have machine bureaucracy, for example, like factory, it is determined. So the process is so and so. So it is specific. Whereas we have divisionalized bureaucracy, we have large organization. We have, for example, conglomerates. So they have large organization, and then sometimes the information, the organization just get up a specific division. Yes, the fourth division. So, yeah, so it's large organization. Whereas when you talk about professional professional hierarchy are it is small units of professional firms. They don't even call it companies, firms. For example, legal firms. So it is specific per unit. So it supports the individual professional. When you develop system for account for law, for example, maybe have a general entrepreneurial system, and then but for the specific lawyer, it's very specific unit, small system. And advocacy, when you develop a system, advocacy, you know that the system will last for a specific duration of time only. You may develop it using cloud-based, or you subscribe maybe 365 system, 365 days system. After 365 days system, it is gone because it is developed by ad hoc. So when you look into the point there is actually when you want to develop system, you need to look into the type of hierarchy of the organization has, whether it is machine, whether it is entrepreneurial, whether it is professional, and so on. So different size, because you need to fit, because it affects of course, affect the cost and affects the capability and so on.
So, for example, like for the ad hoc, it's like now the Malaysian COVID-19 task force is considered an ad hoc
Yes,
organization.
it can be ad hoc. So, but usually it is project management. Project management is an ad hoc system. So you develop, for example, you want to develop a construction project, say for example, ECRL or high speed railway, or even small project developing construction of, then you that require a system. You buy the system, or even like we said, the COVID-19, uh, you don't intend it to be there for long, not to be, it's not permanent system, right? Yes, but so you need to spend so much so that at the end of the period it can write off. You can write it off, meaning that if you spend too much and you cannot write it off. Okay, and then certain part of the system also you can add in manual, because if it is too expensive and then it is ad hoc anyway, you can combine it with Excel and so on. So you have to look into such method. Any other question?
Doctor, actually, I have the questions on the individual assignment.
Okay.
Actually, I'm still confused how to identify the business value of the website.
Okay.
Because last week you mentioned, for example, for the marketing or others transaction, but when we go into the website, how we know? Because a company can have different website, like for example, either on the Facebook or Shopee or even their official website, but maybe different website have their different functions. So how
Yeah.
to identify the business
Okay,
value of the website?
you don't have to pick up your unit. We call it unit of analysis. Your unit of analysis is not the company. The unit of analysis is the website. The company may have more than one website, for example. Yeah, so you pick up a website. The unit of analysis is not the company. You don't study the company, you study the website. Okay, for example, okay, this particular website is meant for conducting transaction. So what is the business value for conducting transaction? That is the business value. Business value is it can help. So you can find some references uh, about transaction, conducting transaction. So it helps out to facilitate, improvise, conduct transaction, process transaction. What does it do? That is the function, but the value is it conducts, help the business to conduct transaction. It reduces the time and so on. So and then it attracts number of customers to the place. Yeah? That is the value. And then what it does is from the value you have function. What are the functions? So you check whether the function is there. And then what are the shortcomings? So the unit of analysis is not the company, but the website. But to help you out, actually, you don't find a very good website. You you are looking for shortcomings. So you find a website where there are many shortcomings.
Total, can I give an example? Like if let's say the website have the transaction function, but they only support for the credit card, means they don't provide like uh the e-wallet, something like that. So is that also considered as one of the shortcoming in the payment?
Yes, because now because beside credit card you can they should also have FPX, direct debit from the accounts instead of, because not that many people like credit card, because credit card charge there is a fee, higher fee compared to FPX. And then a lot of people today also have e-wallet. And then today, for example, like certain banks, for example, like Maybank, they have this QR code, MAE QR code. You can make payment through QR code instead of using. And then some people uses Alipay, GrabPay. So, and correct, like you mentioned, not that can be a shortcoming.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
Okay.
So, for example, if the existing website does e-commerce, so meaning with the new website that we're doing via WordPress, we have to incorporate e-commerce theoretically je lah kan, because we don't have access to the real website.
You can just take the logo and you place it there. Take the logo, place it there. It doesn't have to function.
Logo of Paham, thanks.
You don't have, it doesn't have to run. You just place the logo there. But anyway, it is a prototype. What you are doing is a prototype. When you are developing system, say okay, let's see, you assume that your task is actually to show a prototype. Show a prototype, not a working prototype. A prototype need not be working. There is a prototype that you just draw and then you show, okay, this is what, if you present to your organization later, okay, this is what you should have. We have Alipay, we have wallet, we have some FPX and so on. You just put the logo and then you present it to the board. Say, okay, this is what should be there, but it wasn't there.
Do we have to provide like a comparison, the before and after? Like this is the website before and this is the website that we're suggesting?
Yes, but it's in different pages, because when you show the shortcoming, you take snapshot of the shortcomings, or even or different several screenshots of the existing website, and then you put up your new website and you put four. We just minimum four screenshots of your website. And then your website need not be named as according to the existing website that you compare. For example, like if you are comparing IKEA, you can change it to save some other name. You don't put same name. And then you don't have to create your own domain. You just use a free domain that you can find in WordPress or anywhere, or in Wix also they provide free. And then you can bring it down after the end of the course.
So meaning to say it's not compulsory. So you can also use like an existing website with improvements to it. So meaning it has the same domain name and address and everything.
Yes.
Doctor, sekarang ni kan we can even do landing pages and websites from canva.com. Can we use that as well? Ataupun you want a specific website punya macam WordPress and Wix ke? Because sekarang landing pages dah boleh buat through banyak apps kan?
Yes.
Working.
Boleh
So
juga.
Canva boleh juga?
Boleh juga.
Okay.
Okay. Any other question on your individual assignment or the class today or your group assignment? Or about the quiz? The quiz today you can prepare a pager or 2 pager. You can keep it until later. You combine with the 2 more and then you submit together. While you still remember, it's good that you start writing just 1 page or 2 page while you still remember it.
So quiz is a 2-pager.
One or two. One minimum, one maximum 2. Just
okay.
just put
it's
the
not the
question.
lengthy you don't need the
No. Just 1
answer
page.
je. Tak payah cover page.
Tak payah cover page. Actually,
Okay,
you
faham.
need a cover page for the whole. For example, you combining three quiz. Yeah, combining 3 quizzes. So 1 quizzes upfront there you put in your name, matrix number. I need your name and matrix number when I print. Otherwise, I might not know who it is. And then you put quiz 1, quiz 2, quiz 3.
Okay.
Just a cover page so that I can identify you, who you are, combined together.
Okay.
But you write it now so that while you still remember what we have discussed early today.
Yeah.
Even if yeah.
Doctor, I got a question. So for the individual assignment, like for example, I found website, but you got a lot of pages. So it's like you go into the main, then you have product, you got services, got contact me, our story, and many, like about almost 10. So you need to duplicate all of them.
No. You don't have to duplicate all of them. You pick up the shortcomings that you want to highlight.
Okay, so only the shortcoming, then we reproduce that page.
Yeah. It is actually, it helps you to in the future say, okay, while you're working, your boss tells you, okay, please look at this website. Is it good to deliver the business value? So you take the website. How do you look at it? Point number 1, what is the business value? If you don't know the business value, then you will not be able to do it. First, you need to determine what is the business value. After you have determined the business value, and then you identify what are the functions that support the business value. Okay, these are the functions that support the business. What were not there? What was not there? The business value is there, but the function doesn't support it. And these are the things that you will have to highlight to your management. That it need to be there. And then how should it look like? You develop a simple prototype. This is what the 4 pages I was doing. Simple prototype. This is a simple prototype, how it should look like. And at least your management can imagine. Can say, oh, that is how it should look like. And then so your idea is crispy clear. And then that is the goal of this assignment. Okay. So you can deliver this across. Okay.
Doctor, the answer for the quiz is on answer or from the today discussion summary for today discussion.
Okay, what you discuss today is to trigger is to trigger your mind. You can put it differently. It may not be what you have discussed. You may agree or you don't might not you might disagree, but it's actually mind trigger. Because the requirement is for MBA, you need to have case study. So this is part of case study. We discuss it as a case study. So we need to have interaction. So have had our interaction. From there, you can have your carry marks, and then but the assignment is actually and the interaction is to mind trigger you to trigger your mind. But what you submit is based on your own thoughts. You may agree what your friends to discuss, or you may not agree. But at least you have listened to some ideas. Okay. Any other question? Otherwise, we can adjourn until we meet again. The next class will be. Oh, we don't have class next week. Yeah, the next class will be on the 31st. Yeah, on the 31st of May. Okay. Okay. Alia, any question, Alia?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Habibah, okay. Najwa, Emmanuel, Jipo, Chan Chafwa, Norazmin. Everything okay. Yes.
Can I know where we can see the TED Talk video that you post just now on our
Okay.
link? We don't find
Okay.
it.
It is in the the video is in the open learning.
Mhm.
It is at the okay, open learning. You look at the organization and systems. Organization and systems. You look at the bottom case study, organization and system, case study, Michael Porter on tech. I'll share. I'll share everyone. I'll share. I'll share the screen.
The number of students remain nine kan, Doctor? Meaning Hakimi and Syafiqah tak drop kan?
I'm not sure. Maybe they tak ada. I don't have information on their dropping.
Alright.
Okay. Okay. This is where this is at the organization information system. So we look at the end. Yeah. Okay. There is a link to the TED video. I provided the. You can watch it here, or you can look. You can. There is a link here. This is the question. These are the questions. You don't have to put it here, but you put it in learning activities. You put it continuous and final assessment here, but you don't have to put it now. You combine with the other two, so you have three, and then put cover page and then sense. Okay. Any question? Any other question before we adjourn? Okay. So we adjourn. Now it's 12:30. So see you on the 31st May.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.